how are you?
I'm well, how are you? So, just here?
Just there.
Is the... I'm not sure. Just check, please.
Just fix this for you. You good?
That's fine? Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Okay, so what's your name and where you're from?
My name is Sarah. I'm a Palestinian woman who grew up in Jordan, but never saw Palestine before. We're a family of 6, and my whole family feels very strongly about the conflict that has been ongoing for the past 6 to 8 years, since the establishment of the State of Israel in 1948. I have never tried visiting Palestine myself. However, my dad's sister, who is also my aunt, as we call her in Palestinian, Amto, she went through a very tough time last year trying to get into Palestine. She was born in the year of 1949, which makes her 67 right now. She's kind of sick and she has back problems, which is why she walks on a stick now. Last year, she decided to try to get into Palestine after 40 years of being away from her home. The Israelis forced her out of her home in 1976. My aunt was just 27 when they kicked her out of her house. And 39 years later, which was last year in 2015, my aunt finally tried to enter Palestine again. She stood by the gate, and as she was entering, a guard stopped her. He was an Israeli soldier. He immediately approached my aunt and told her to stop. He asked her where she was going, and he began to question her in a very aggressive way. My aunt was telling me she started to get scared and thought that this was a really bad idea, but she really wanted to go and visit the house she was forced to leave 40 years ago. She argued with the guard, and he kept shouting at her, and all she was doing was trying to enter, and he kept yelling. And then he held his gun and hit her right on her back, and he grabbed her from her head, and he made her go down on her knees. He continued beating her till she stopped talking. There was no one that was there to help her. She started crying and pleading just to go in. She told him, "I swear, I just want to see my home. I don't want to hurt anyone or do anything. I mean, I'm just an old lady, just let me in. I want to see my home." And he simply just told her, go away, and that this is no longer her home. He left her on the floor crying, and he just walked away. My aunt is 67 years old and she walks on a stick, yet he chose to continue hitting her and hurting her rather than just avoiding all the problems that he caused. After 12 long hours of waiting, my aunt approached a different guard, and after long hours of begging, he let her in. She walked through the gates, and one step was in Jordan and the other was in Palestine, her home and her land. She felt so grateful, and she sobbed the entire way as she was heading to see her house, and she was hoping that her house wasn't destroyed. And as she was pulling up, she sees that the house looks exactly the way it did before, except that the painting has changed a little bit. She knocked on the door, and an old lady opens the door for her. My aunt told me that she was an Israeli lady who looked as old as she was, and my aunt spoke to her and told her that she used to live in this home, and she came all the way from Jordan to Palestine to see her house. Well, to her surprise, the Israeli lady welcomed her in, and she was very nice to her. I mean, she greeted her and welcomed her into her home, and she didn't expect that at all. My aunt started to reminisce all the old memories that took place in that house, where her and her husband used to sit, where they eat, where they slept. And then my aunt told the Israeli lady that I had a big box that I kept under the floor, the ones that you open like this, and they're usually hidden under the floor, but it was her secret spot in her bedroom. In that box, my aunt hid all of her gold and jewelry there because she was rushed out when she had to leave it behind. And the Israeli lady was shocked and asked her where she put the secret treasure box. And as my aunt was walking towards the hidden box, she told her that when we were leaving, I left my newborn son there. He was only 2 weeks old. I couldn't take him, so I left him in the box with all my gold because I was afraid the Israelis would take him away or kill him. So she just left him there. The Israeli lady then told her that when she moved into the house, she found a boy, and he just looked a couple of weeks old, and she took him in and adopted him because she felt bad for him. She started crying, and she couldn't believe that her little boy was alive. The Israeli lady then told her, "Would you like to meet him? He would be coming back from his shift in 20 minutes. And my aunt was so excited, she couldn't believe that her son was alive, yet alone that she's gonna meet him after all this long time of being apart from him and wondering what happened to him. I mean, who wouldn't be excited? The Israeli lady was telling her all about her son and what he is like, and my aunt kept crying and feeling so happy. She felt like, she felt like the luckiest woman in the world. Who wouldn't, you know? She couldn't believe that after all those years, her son is alive and he's healthy. She always thought that he would have died from starvation or someone would have killed him, but he was alive. The doorbell rang and the Israeli lady told her to open the door, as this is her special moment. My aunt ran to the door, although she couldn't walk properly. Adrenaline did kick in and she somehow ran to the door. As fast as she could, she took a breath and she just opened the door. She saw the same soldier that hit her with a gun. The man that was in front of her was the man that was beating her. The man that made her cry. The man that put her down on her knees and hit her. That man was her son. My aunt looked straight into his eyes and she began to cry. Her tears wouldn't stop, and this time, they weren't tears of happiness. A born Palestinian is now an Israeli soldier. A man that is supposed to protect his country from the enemy became the enemy. A man who's supposed to treat women right treated his own mother wrong. Sorry. I know this is my aunt's story and it did really happen and I can't believe all of this, but for some reason now I'm so angry and I feel so betrayed because he is my cousin and now he's an Israeli soldier and he's also Palestinian by blood.